Hey, welcome back to the Wicked Wild. It's your hillbilly host, Dave, broadcasting from the Appalachian Mountains. And this week, we are bringing you some big alien energy in NYC. So, before we get into that, I'm going to introduce you to our classic hosts. This is classic original. This is none of that new Coke garbage. This is classic original flavor Wicked Wild. First, I want to talk to our resident NYC resident. Jaime, how's it going?
It's going well.
Good.
What's up?
So I have this question for you, and I mentioned to it before we started recording that I had a very visceral reaction to something. And I just want to ask you. Just want to ask you. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that you're having a going away party. You're about to leave the country for God knows how long. And like a couple of days before that, you like confessed your undying love to somebody. And then that person, that rando, decides to show up to your party with some one night stand.
Dave, did you read my mind? Like, did you just know?
And get offended when you ask, what the fuck?
Did you read my notebook? Did you come over here? Did you fly here? Come into my apartment.
All I'm saying is when I was watching this the last time, I had a Jaime out of body experience when that happened. So tell me, what would you do in that situation?
Which person? First of all, I would not be the her, because what the fuck? And like in the hint, like Dave, I had that same note. Like it literally says, why did she bring a rando to this guy's party that she slept with? I don't care that they're not officially a couple. I don't care that they're not whatever. Like, who shows up and just is like with a huge fuck you? Here's some other guy I'm sleeping with, probably.
I know this is your last night in the country with your friends.
So I'm going to send you off by saying, I'm going to go fuck this guy instead.
This is what I'll be doing.
But then you're in love with her and she is the driving force for your motivation of everything.
Exactly. Yes, we're going to get into it. I just had to know. I'm glad I was tying into what I felt like was going to be a resonant moment for the two of us.
There's only one other moment that I think you and I thought you might have had also, and it's late in the movie, so I'll save it for them. But it's like another thing that I thought you would have noticed. But I'm so glad you picked up on that one because like it was a huge what the fuck from her.
That's a like hit the brakes hard moment. Like, wait, what is happening here?
Yeah.
And then we've got John up in Detroit, Michigan. Up there north of Canada, as we learned last week on the Void episode, that a lot of his area there is
true.
I did look it up on the map. So there's that swooping Toronto area, right? That's what we're talking about that comes down below.
Toronto's a little bit further north. It's a little city named Windsor. And actually, what was interesting for the first time ever is there's actually a Michigan connection for Cloverfield. It's very subtle, and unless you know your naval or air bases or Air Force Base. Sorry, they referenced some F-18s coming from Selfridge, which is an Air Force base here in Michigan.
I thought you were going to say you saw an action figure of RoboCop.
No,
that's the only thing I know about Detroit.
Well, he's our patron
that and 8 Mile
justice. Oh, yeah, 8 Mile. You can't. Actually, what's funny is if you ever come here, 8 Mile is very, very, very large, and it goes very, very far outside of Detroit. It's not just in Detroit.
It's like a whole area code, isn't it?
Well, they set up the city in grids, and yes, 8 Mile is actually known as baseline out where I live, and then it turns into 8 Mile, and then 8 Mile is legitimate, no doubt. Like, you cross 8 Mile into parts of Detroit, it's a distinct divide. So
the only thing I know about 8 Mile is that's where Eminem was born and learned to rap.
All right, born there.
All right, let's snap back to reality real quick here.
I see what you did there. Knees weak, arm spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
So my John moment here, as our resident single, ready to mingle guy.
Of course. We always got to have one.
I think you were well represented in this group, but I did have the question: is the middle of a cataclysmic alien invasion in your town a good time to start hitting on the random person who just showed up at your friend's party? Is that a good time to lay down some game?
Does the person look like Lizzy Caplan?
That's a fair point.
Then yes, it is.
Really? Someone once told me I kind of look like her, which I don't see. I'm not saying that as like a brag. I took it as an offense. Like,
really?
I don't know. Yeah,
Well,
I also had black hair at the time, and like things are like a different.
You both have very expressive eyes. I can see it in that. You have big expressive eyes, both of you do.
I mean, I'm a big Lizzy Caplan fan, and it's always
good to know then. Like,
maybe it was John that said it.
I always felt like tasteful backhand, where it's like people say I look like this Hollywood actress, but I think she's fugly. That's basically what you did there.
I would say she's not her most attractive in Cloverfield, but I think she was made to look.
Is it because of the Ronald McDonald haircut? Because that's what always throws me off.
If you go back to 2008, that haircut is this.
Yeah, it was on every poster of
No,
McDonald's in the tri-state area.
It's like a wavy bob thing. Like it's whatever.
And who else has a wavy bob?
No.
Grimace's best friend.
No, he has.
No,
he has. I'm not even. We're not. Never mind.
If you want something,
haircuts have no place on this show.
one of my favorite experiences, and it wasn't even a backhanded compliment. It was just backhanded. I was minding my own damn business. I'd gone to Subway to pick up some sandwiches for the family, and this young kid's there, and we're having a nice conversation while I'm ordering my food. And he looks up and he goes, "You know who you look like? Man, dude, you are like the spitting image of Michael Shannon." I'm like, "What?" You know what? I don't even think Michael Shannon likes saying he looks like
that. That happened to me once. I was in a giant eagle. For those of you in other states, that is our version of Piggly Wiggly.
I don't know what a Piggly Wiggly is either.
A grocery store. It's a grocery store. It's a grocery store. Giant Eagle's a grocery store. And like I had a small apartment at the time, so like I couldn't like bulk up like food and stuff, So like if I got fruit and stuff, I'd get the single fruit because I'd only get a couple because I don't eat it every day. So I got like 3 oranges was the fruit I got and some other things. And so I give them the belt and the lady goes, "You only getting 3 oranges?" And I was like, "Yep." She goes, She goes, "Anybody ever tell you look like a short, fat version of Seth Rogen?" Like, no.
Wow.
She goes, "Well, that's just what you look like." I was like, "Okay."
You want to kick me in the balls while I'm here? Or
she's
what
like,
are we doing?
She's like, "Do you want any more oranges?" I was like, "No, I got fucking 3 for a reason." Okay. Thank you.
I'm good. Thank you. Please just let me go about my life.
But like, it was like dead eye, just pan stare to just, let's not ruin this motherfucker's day.
That's a bold move to say to a stranger, "You look like not just Seth Rogen, fat Seth Rogen."
Yeah, it doesn't.
Had to throw a little salt on that one. Yeah, she put a little stank on that one for you.
I think she was real upset that I only got 3 oranges.
And that
so she had to insult you.
Exactly.
Insult me.
And that fourth voice you hear is our very own Elijah up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. A true dyed-in-the-wool Pittsburgher. Don't let him tell you otherwise.
Yeah, not at all.
And I got really excited because obviously there's a big section of this movie that happens underground. And as our underground expert, I had a question for you.
All right.
So what's your read as our underground expert on the idea of wandering into a subway tunnel full of Starship Trooper bugs with a camera and a flashlight? What are the percentages you're giving that person, especially in the middle of a giant creature?
That was correct. Here's my take, right? Here's my concern. First off, if your only light source to go through these tunnels, which you said it's only an hour walk to the next station. So that means you'll be walking for an hour and your only light source is TJ Miller with a camera and what has to be the dullest fucking light bulb glowing. Like, I'm pretty sure my ass glows in the moon brighter. And like, you're just going to walk through there knowing that there's this big creature and like shit's collapsing. Don't give you high percentage, Or if it was me and I'm like, this is our only possible way, I can tell you this. My short, fat Seth Rogen ass is definitely not walking and going on a midnight stroll. I'm huffing and puffing that whole distance.
Now, Jamie, you've lived there for years. I'm assuming you've wandered the subway tunnels.
All the time.
There's no aliens in there, so it should be fine.
Subway tunnels. No chance a train is just going to run me over in the middle.
Or the chuds or the billions of rats that are down there. I just there's a lot to talk about in this movie, as you can hear, our trusty listeners. So we're going to get into some of that. But before we do, as we always do, we're going to give Eli an opportunity to get us all spun up on the nonsense that's happening in the real world on his segment called Wicked Whispers.
Yeah. Got two quick stories for you. One of them is just the constant what the fuck this year's turning into. And the other one is, if you don't have any other reason to be afraid of what tomorrow's going to bring, I'm your guy. First story. So over the last few weeks, there's been some more UFO talk coming up. And what's weird though is like there's not been hearings about it. And it's like just randomly they're just like, hey, this guy from NASA is like making a press conference or this person from the Air Force. Like it's just these like weird little like, oh, we're tracking it because we've seen these increases and blah, 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 blah.
Don't worry about it, but
yeah, don't worry about it. Spokesman for the government was talking about like this. I think they were talking about general some like updates stuff like the Air Force and the military or whatever. Someone asked this spokesman about like the UFOs, and he's like kind of going on. He's like, yeah, he's like, there's a couple objects, we've kind of seen in space that could potentially fit a mothership scenario, but we keep our eye on it. We monitor. We're not really sure what they are, and then just speeds past it. I have to ask, what is going on with you journalists? Because as soon as a military official goes mothership, I'm gonna go, hold on, excuse me, follow up.
Let's park here for a minute.
Let's discuss that. Right. And like the thing that kills me is like the news stations, like you see it kind of cover it. They're just like, just more about UFOs. I'm like,
like those wacky aliens.
Yeah. And you see our conspiracy TikTok, which is just preaching the impending doom because TikTok's about to get banned. They're all like, why didn't any of them ask about the mothership? And I'm thinking, smartest thing I've heard all day.
Now they're finally talking sense.
So we went from, we don't know what these are, small chance of extraterrestrial, to, well, we got a bunch on tape. We may have samples of crashes. We're going to bypass that. To, oh yeah, we Patriot Acted group all these documents up until 82. Some of them, which we're not going to address, talks about Russia reporting to us that we killed one, but don't worry about it, right? To, yeah, we think there might be a couple motherships up there, but nah, you know what I mean? Nah. So, but people, don't just look into the sky. There are individuals in the tech industry, the other story coming out today, that they're asking the government to put a hold or a short ban on AI, as all of these companies after the ChatGPT came out are ramping up their AI, and they're finding that some are already creating their own languages and talking to each other. And they're like, we don't understand, one, what they're doing, two, the ramifications for this, and three, what could really happen. We should ban this. And you know what they said? Fuck it. We're just going to keep going. No one is even acknowledging that you have many people in the tech industry wanting to ban this.
Yeah. We've
Switchman flip. Let's scan it, baby.
Let's just create a system that is genuinely smarter than us and just see what happens.
Yeah. So if anybody is betting on a Deadpool for the end of the world, so
23 is coming up clean.
So far, aliens and artificial intelligence are leading the pack. So any of you got chips on black, you're there.
And the hilarious thing, and I think this will make you proud, Eli. I think you've done your job well in educating those within your cabinet of the kingdom. There,
of course.
And John can attest to this. A month ago, in the April Fool's episode that we had, when Caitlin took care of your responsibilities in the Wicked Whispers, she talked about the mothership. So there you go.
Yeah,
I can see that the memorandum made it through the kingdom very quickly.
It did, but I think that the reason I keep like, even like people I know like that, I talk about this stuff. I keep bringing that up because that's a pretty big fucking deal. Thing to say, right? And like the fact that they just rushed over it. First off, not a single goddamn reporter in that room thought I should follow up that one.
So wait, Eli, what you're telling me that the possible concept that there is a Death Star roaming through the solar system is something we might want to look into a little further? Is that what you're saying?
We might want some more information. You know what I mean? Like, even like, I get it, classified stuff, right? But I feel like you at least got to try and be like, hey, what'd you mean about that?
Did you just say mothership?
What'd you mean about that? Why are you classifying it that? Because I'm assuming, right, if it's a mothership, that means you've seen some connection to some other ships. So
I would assume in the modern press conferences, you get more questions about, hey, why are you gendering the extraterrestrials? Why are you using gendered terms for this ship?
If I am not mistaken, the next follow-up was you get something like Space Force still a thing now that Trump's out and all this stuff. And I'm like, who gives a shit about Trump? He said mothership. Like, what is this, Independence Day? Like, what are we doing?
And on that note, we're going to get back to our own extraterrestrial tale. That's not too far from the same kind of concepts, and we'll get into some of this stuff. But first, as we always do, we're going to have our on the fly synopsis. And if you remember, in our The Void episode, Jaime was our synopsizer, so she's going to be the one I'm going to question. I have a fun one for her this week. So,
did we even say what movie we're watching tonight?
It's the title of the podcast. So.
Oh, that's right.
So
sorry.
If you were jabbing your eyes out and then pushing buttons on your mobile device, and this podcast came up.
I'm a dummy. I'm sorry.
Or maybe ChatGPT changed the language.
Usually we just say it, but usually we say it. Anyway, ask me my question, Dave. Let's forget this ever happened.
I'll edit it all out. No. So you're stranded away from home at a friend's party when the Cloverfield alien charges into the neighborhood. You have like 10 seconds to decide what you're going to do. So do you, Jaime, go up to the roof of the building to try and see what's going on? Do you shove everyone out of your way to get to the street and back home? Or do you grab a camera and follow your friends around telling them how important your video footage is going to be historically?
I think I know which one I am, and I'm kind of upset about it.
Realistically, I grab my dog and my cats, and then I think push everybody out of the way and go for the street and try and get off Manhattan as fast as possible.
All right, John, you're up.
Do it. I'm the camera guy. I'm the camera, wasn't I?
You're always projecting on me.
I know what I is. Also, by the way, this ain't an alien, Dave.
It's true.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it.
Positive.
I don't think it's really important to the synopsis.
No, it's not.
Super important, especially
it's going to be really hard to synopsize.
Yes. Okay. Setting, New York City, Lower Manhattan. Explosions happen. People see a vague shape of something killing people and blowing up buildings. You know who's important? Beth's important. So we got to go save her.
But y'all don't have to go with me. Y'all don't have to go with me. I've got to do this.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, come. I mean,
Beth is infuriating. The whole. Anyway,
I know my actual biological brother just died, but
but Beth, guys,
this girl who just brought a rando to my party, I gotta go say,
who doesn't give two shits about me, apparently.
Sorry,
anyway,
getting ahead of ourselves.
But see, he didn't wake up next to Jason naked a few weeks ago.
How do you know, John? You're making a lot of assumptions there.
I have strong suspicions. Strong suspicions.
This could be a classic tale of brotherly love, if you catch my drift.
He was pretty busted up over it on the phone with mom.
If it was,
that's it.
Yeah, he was
his mom called,
which was a 3-second conversation because he was like, "Oh my God, I realized."
Oh, John, you've done it. Damn, man.
He was like, "Mom, I gotta go get Beth. Jesus, can't talk right now.
Your son died. Shut the fuck up."
With the cell phones that work during a catastrophic event, we'll get there. But you know,
I mean, don't forget though, he's okay. I'm okay, Mom.
Yeah.
Anyway,
cool.
Sorry, we didn't even do our initial thoughts on this at all.
I think we just did.
No, let's get our initials.
I think John just lit the fuse on this old bad boy. All right, Eli. So you're excited? Jump us off here. Did you see this in theaters? I am curious about that for this one.
I actually did, and what's weird is this movie wasn't much on my radar. The only thing I knew is about the time this came out was when those I don't know what you call those, like GIF ads were showing up like on Facebook and stuff, where like it didn't actually show the trailer. It just like showed like a little like weird like movable picture. And for this one,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
For this one, it was just a street, and then the Statue of Liberty head rolled through, and it was like Cloverfield. It repeated on like your MySpaces and your Facebooks.
Yeah. We used to make those at MTV. I forget what they're called, but yeah.
I had no clue what it was about, really wasn't into it. And then girls dating at the time, we were at some kind of family event and her cousin's boyfriend was like, this is lame, bro. He's like, do you want to walk up to the theater and see Cloverfield? And I'm like, anything is better than this. I had no clue what the movie is about. But when I watched it, absolutely loved this movie at the time. Loved it. And I still really like it. This movie is special because I still remember the first time I watched a 60s. I don't remember which one it was, but like one of the 900 Godzilla movies from the 60s. And just like the absurdity of the plot that didn't make sense, but you were really just waiting for the scenes to carry to the next one Godzilla's in. And this is probably the closest to this feeling, that feeling I've ever got from like watching those old ones. I love, and like it's probably been 10 years since I rewatched it, 10, 15 years maybe. And like when I rewatch it for this, the CGI looks a little rough in some places, probably real rough.
It holds up, yeah.
But it still holds up. I still enjoyed it. There's lines I still chuckled at. I still was letting it like the absurdity of the story just carry me from scene to scene with the monster. And I also thought for what this giant monster flake, it also did a really good job of, we don't want to show you everything up close up front, but it didn't like, was that thing where I didn't see anything the last 10 minutes. Like they did a really good job of kind of like the spatially and the scenes with it. And this movie's a gem. It's a gem.
Yeah. It's a fun ride.
Mm-hmm.
All right, John, what about you?
Oh,
I did
not see this in theaters.
Oh, yeah?
This one flew by me I was absolutely clueless. So, but I did watch it at home and I had probably zero or low expectations watching it. And it kind of blew me away because at that time I was still like licking my wounds from the found footage curse that is the Blair Witch. And I was like, oh no, it's one of these shaky camera movies. But because of the concept, I was all about it. This was before TJ Miller became like, I guess, what do the kids call it? He like canceled? Is that the term?
He was uncanceled. So
yeah, we had.
Oh, he's uncanceled now.
Yeah, we did it before we started recording.
But like, he's not really in stuff because he was like, "Fuck you guys, you canceled me, I'm out."
Good for him, I guess. If he
got married, and apparently he's like last interview, so he's like, "I just sit at home and wait for my wife to get home from work."
Apparently, he married rich. Then.
Getting married uncancels you. That's
okay. Okay. Well, the uncanceled TJ Miller was like he was kind of new, and I thought he was mildly funny in this. Wasn't like gut busting funny. I had no idea who Lizzy Caplan was. So I was like, okay, I can see the appeal. But then there's Rob. Rob. What a interesting fellow. And I mean, I know Beth is the bane of Jaime's existence and annoying.
No, it's Rob for Beth. Like,
okay. So it's more Rob than Beth.
Oh yeah, it's his
he's the problem.
He's the problem. She's just
But
dying.
he's a VP going to Japan, so everybody wants
used him though.
Okay, we're not. Yeah,
I brought the American Pie guy home to bang, but
I already ripped her a new one at the top. I'm just saying, like.
They did have some like interesting subtle cameos. He had the guy from Sons of Anarchy in there at the party.
Yep. Theo Rassi.
Yeah.
The guy that played the brother is the guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
You're right.
Yeah, he's in a bunch though, isn't he?
Yeah, but no, I love this movie. The interesting thing now watching it with our like kind of current knowledge is seeing all the compositing issues and knowing the language of blue screens or volumes like they're using today. Like you can really see the seams on it now. However, it still does hold up, and you can definitely tell. Was this ever shot in New York? I never even looked. It doesn't.
Yeah. Well, yes, it's 100% New York. That is New York.
Some of it looks very New York, and some of it looks very much on a set, and that is like no way.
That might be the internal stuff. Yeah, but the street, like we'll get there because I have a whole thing about. But a lot of those streets are 100% downtown New York and Midtown New York, and
that's awesome though that they actually shot on location, because I mean that's one thing lately we don't get as much. So
yeah, high Scream 6, but let's not.
Haven't seen it yet.
I don't want to talk about.
Wow,
it's not in New York.
I hope I love it just as much as everyone else.
Made me not want to go to New York ever.
Okay.
Well, from what Jamie's saying, if you watch the movie and didn't want to go to New York, you should go to New York because
you should go to New York because it was not New York.
They burned me once. How can I believe them?
Vancouver or something. I don't know where it was.
Oh, so it's literally like Friday the 13th.
Yes, it's not New York. Not one thing. We'll get.
Okay, all right. Back to Cloverfield though. No, I really do like this movie. Love the monster design. This was kind of like you can see Matt Reeves cutting his teeth where he actually took off for the Apes movies.
Yeah.
Which I think those are his best movies. Batman's good. It's not as good as the Apes movies.
Yep.
But anyways, Cloverfield I love. It's great. I was really looking forward.
All right, Jamie, it's time for you to unleash the beast of New York on this.
Not going to unleash that yet, but so I saw this in theaters. This is back when I saw almost everything in theaters. I also own this, so it's not one of those I bought because I didn't see. I liked this movie enough that I went out. I purchased this when it came out. I remember making my dad watch it. He was not impressed. We'll get to that at another moment. But
do you have the collector's edition dented
my sister
steel?
Does.
Oh, see, I have that one.
So I didn't get to watch. I didn't know if she knew we were covering it. She just messaged me before. I would have borrowed it from her. The 10th anniversary or something.
Yeah.
She has like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all dented in steel, like they got out of the rubble.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I'm also related to like the number one Cloverfield fan you'll ever meet. It's my sister. Hi Tammy. So
hey Tammy.
She's my Cloverfield expert on this. It's not undocumented how I feel about found footage, but every time we talk about it, I always say there's like 5 movies that I like. And this was always in those 5. I'm not taking it out, but watching it again for the first time in a very long time, I'm going to say some important things and then some nonsense things. The nonsense things are like, and I totally agree with everybody. Like, and Eli said, like, I think you really have to let the story go out the window because like, or even the realistic, not that anything should be realistic, but like, wow, does this break so many like the fact that this camera goes with no battery for like I've always had a video camera. They die in fucking like an hour if you want to actually use them for forever. Like cell phones working, getting places, thinking elevators are gonna work. Like all this shit is just like insane. So I've seen this a few times. I own it. Like I said, I have not watched it like Eli probably in like a very long time. It didn't take till 2023 and watching it now for it to hit me that this is a September 11th movie. I know it's been like confirmed even, but like it didn't take until watching it now for just observing to realize how close these scenes are. And I'm not even trying to be, but I do live in New York. I specifically live in Manhattan. I've gone through this firsthand. I wonder now how I put my dad through watching it. And I'm sorry. I'm like, because my dad is, for people, a retired chief of the fire department. He was very close with September 11th. He lost every guy that was working that day. It's like watching it. First of all, how the fuck did I make him watch it only 7 years later? But like, it's unnerving how if you just disguise this monster, like what you're watching happen to New York in this movie. And yes, it is New York in this movie because I get distracted. I'm sitting there. I do this in a lot of movies filmed in New York, and I'm sitting there looking at like pausing it to see what street they're on. Oh, they're on Prince, or oh, they're on, like I
tracking them.
That. Yeah, just trying to figure out where they are because we'll get to my rant about New York geography. But like, it's 100% New York. Yes, I bet Subway is a set, or that mall, which I think is supposed to be Columbus Circle, but doesn't look like Columbus Circle. That's a set, I'm sure. But like those downtown scenes are definitely downtown Little Italy. Like John is where we went to dinner. Like I was just like looking at like, it's definitely like Chinatown, Little Italy. Like they're at Prince Street, Spring Street. Like they run, but anyway, this was just I just had to say these things. So I like this movie. Mm-hmm. It is an entertaining movie. There's a lot of dumb stuff. It also hits a little differently now. But I still put it as a found footage movie that I like, that I have fun with, if I'm willing to ignore the infuriating parts of it, like this man chasing all over Manhattan during a catastrophe for a girl that was willing to sleep with someone else the day he was leaving for Japan, China. I don't remember Japan.
Japan.
Okay. But
make that nod to Godzilla.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's true. Duh. But anyway, I don't know. I don't even know if I answered the question, but I still like it. Do I think it's as great as I did in 2008? Yeah. But
it hits different for sure.
Yeah.
And for those that watch our YouTube video, you'll notice that Jamie's wearing her dad's jacket. He was captain of Ladder 101. If you know anything about 9/11, you know that was the first ladder on site.
One of. Yep.
So I can see your point, and I actually thought about that the last couple times I've watched it because even with the effects, it hits. The blocking is very much like shots we saw, news shots we saw when the tower fell. So I can only imagine what you would. And gosh, if your dad sat through this movie, he would not have a good time. You know?
I'm a moron. Like, I don't know, but who's thinking? Like when I saw it, again,
it's a creature feature
again,
to you.
Took me, yes. And to Eli's point about being like with Godzilla, like that's how I was watching this movie. Like you're watching it and whatever. It is not until like the eye I had recently where some of these things were hitting a little different that I'm just like, oh fuck.
Well, I think part of it, like,
oh fuck.
Like said, they like you could tell like this was definitely kind of like a love letter to like those old Godzilla movies. But something they also did, which was really smart, and I would like to think this was purely on purpose. If you like in the 60s and like late 50s, 60s, and like somewhat early 70s, a lot of horror movies were based on shit that came from like the wars and like actual like world events. Like they're like, yeah, that's scary. But we turned it into a horror movie because thought process was like, well, that's going to help people not be afraid of it. And like it was like almost a lethargic kind of like thing. And I kind of wonder like if they knew they were doing this, like, because once again, like, I mean, that's kind of what was Godzilla was for Japan. If you think about like all the mass disasters they had between like, you know, they're known for the earthquakes, the bombs, like things like that. And like they kind of did Godzilla, who's just like radioactive monster that kept destroying Tokyo. And like I have to believe that that's why, because like they're like seeing with the dust and stuff like that, like you could definitely tell that was on like that's not something they could have missed. And I have to think it was just in this homage package that they kind of did with this movie. They're like, we're gonna make a modern 60s monster flick, like, and I have to think that's why they did it.
Right. So for me, this is one that I saw in theaters. And the reason I saw it in theaters, and I don't know if y'all remember this, they had a genius marketing plan. This is when J.J. Abrams was just getting his Bad Robot kind of off the ground with the feature films. He had done a lot of TV up to this, but he was really savvy on marketing. But I don't know if you remember, the first teasers for this movie came out as the lead in to the Transformer movie, the first Transformer movie. And I was very excited. Me and my friends, we went and saw that. And the teaser trailer was just the street, an explosion, and then the Statue of Liberty head rolling by and stopping right in front of you. And then it didn't even have the freaking name of the movie. It just said 2008. That's all it said. And I was like, I don't care what it is. I'm in 2008. Here we go. But then when it came out, because I am a big Kaiju fan, I eat up all the Kaiju stuff. And I had a bad taste in my mouth coming into this because all we had up to that point that really leaned into that was that Roland Emmerich Godzilla movie, which was horrible. And this was a really nice palate cleanser.
Was that the Matthew Broderick one in the 90s? Okay.
Yeah, it was very Roland Emmerich. I'll put it that way.
Puff Daddy. Yeah. That's part of the movie. Probably.
Exactly. But I do love the Kaiju kind of movies. And I realized in this movie, and it was confirmed when the new Kong came out, the Samuel L. Jackson Kong, I really enjoy, because I grew up with the classic Godzillas, just like Eli was talking about. And all of those movies, even the Emmerich Godzilla, they were all set at the monster scale. Whereas this movie was set at the human scale, dealing with the monster, and the way it moved, it was almost like in slow motion, and the scale of seeing things around it, it was really impactful. Like I was much more emotionally invested in this movie just because it was at a scale I recognized. And then holy shit, there's this big thing coming through the screen. And Kong did the same thing. Now, the new Godzilla movies, they go back to monster scale, which I get because you're having a lot of stuff going on. You can't do that at human scale, but I always really enjoy that human scale Kaiju movie. And Pacific Rim does some of it. It kind of goes back and forth, but I enjoy those human scale moments in that where you really get the awe of the scale of these freaking things that are destroying everything. So I enjoyed that. On top of that, being a found footage fan, I thought it was ingenious to go that route. Now, does the technology hold up? No. If you lay logic on this at all, none of this technology is going to hold up for this movie. But as a reactive found footage kind of script, that's a great storyline to get to tell, because obviously that's the way, at least emotionally, you would think something like that would play out. Like we've seen enough horrible things in the world these days, and we've seen the footage that the news uses from those events, that it's somebody's kid's birthday party and then something horrible happens and everybody's facing their cameras at it. So I enjoyed that. The last thing I'll say is this was the first time, and we talked about this a little bit before recording, this is the first time that I saw TJ Miller in anything. And this made me,
I think all of us.
But it was the first time experiencing him. And when I'm watching, I'm like, oh, this guy does a really good, like, stoner character. Like, he does a really good job at these affectations. It's very unique. And then after the fifth movie of singing, I'm like, oh, he's not doing a thing.
No.
He is a thing. But in this, I really enjoyed it because he was a genuine, simple narrative perspective. Like, I liked being behind the camera with him because what you saw is what you got.
I found it so weird watching it now with him, and not because I have any personal views on TJ Miller, just because he's become TJ Miller, like you just said. So knowing that when I watched it the first time, I had no idea who he was. He's just the mild comedic relief. Watching it now, it's like, oh, there's TJ Miller doing TJ Miller.
It's 100% him. Yeah.
I laughed out loud again because you're right. His story's so simple, and it's basically like, oh, he really likes Lizzy Caplan's character, and he's like, just try, even no matter what's going on, he's trying. And I laughed out loud when they're in the subway, and like the one guy's calling his mom, telling his brother died, and his brother's girlfriend's like covering him. He's like, man, that's really sad. Like, I should probably say something to him. I don't know. What do you think I should say? He's like, and she's looking like, why are you asking me this? Like, I the world's falling apart. Like, don't talk to me. He's like, what would you do?
What would make you feel better?
Yeah. And it's like sitting there like, this is crazy, right? Like, you think this is crazy, right? It's like, why wouldn't she? Like, what are you talking about? But I was laughing. It's like, you could tell he's the whole movie just trying. Yeah. And then like he's distraught when she blows up, and he's like, oh, he's like, I was just talking to her.
Oh, sorry. No, Dave.
I was just to Eli's point. I was just going to follow that up with, Rob's brother, Jason, his girlfriend, who is Lily. I love the idea that HUD, who is TJ's character, Lily goes to him, gives him the camera and says, your one job tonight is to videograph this party. That's all you have to do. And like, he must, in my mind, at least, he took that so seriously that he decided this is all I can do.
Because every time they talk about the camera, he's like, no, I got to record for history.
Lily's going to be pissed if I don't.
Like, that's a lie, because like when someone says about the camera, he goes, you're recording the history of this party. And he just gets like, this is for history purposes. And like his character was like almost like a simpleton. And I loved it. I was still chuckling at lines in this movie, and like I'd forgotten about like some of those like things he says and like when he's in the street stuff, and like even like there's lines where like he's not even talking to anybody, it's just he's like talking to himself in this event, and you're just like, oh my god.
Yeah, he's like running past a shop like, oh, I used to eat there.
Yeah. you're like and meanwhile I'm like, that would be me, because I'd be like, oh man, oh, not the Little Debbie cake factory, oh no.
Hey guys, that's not her building that's leaning against the other building. Somebody tell me that's not her building.
I just wanted to touch on, and because I'm not well versed in it, we should have phoned in my sister on it, because it's actually, she was very well versed starting at the second one. But you had mentioned too the marketing, and besides Blair Witch Project, and again, we know how I feel about it, but this movie, secondly, might have had the best marketing campaign, because they had that whole ARG going through all of them. Mm-hmm. And I know she was very involved in it. And I know a lot of people were, but it's like something, again, that like, I feel like, I mean, I could be totally wrong, that we don't see much of anymore at all with these marketing campaigns. Like now
people
it's just social
media.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, this is funny. Oh, Megan did a funny fucking dance. Everybody's going to go see Megan because this stupid doll did a stupid dance. Guess how I felt about that movie. But like, yeah, it's just, it was a different time where actual effort and secrecy and little like was put into something that like.
Yeah. And from what I understand, that was a lot of that was JJ. Like he stood up all these websites with little snippets of the story. And it's funny, I put it in the trivia, but all of the main characters in this had their own MySpace pages.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And all their spaces, their last login was the day this movie came out.
Yeah.
Just
all three of the Cloverfield movies have ARGs.
Yeah.
The first one, if you clicked on the Flash, if you were on MySpace, if you clicked on the Flash ad, it took you to one of their random pages.
Mm.
And like you'd go to like their MySpace page. The second one, I think, was like this weird game.
Yes, that's the one she was more heavy. That's the one she was in.
It was like a weird game. And like the third one was like a coding game. Like it was like the ship computer that they're on. But they all like the advertising for all three, but like none of them, like what was special about this one is it literally, you knew nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There was like, it was nothing. They were so like, you really had no clue what this movie is about. You just assumed like it must be something like crazy happens to the Statue of Liberty's head rolling down the street, but you didn't know.
Yeah, and to the point I made earlier, that for me at least, as that kind of person, that's all I needed to know. They were going to get my money at that point.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember at the time thinking like, cause I remember like when I saw the Slash ads, I was like, cause there was always this rumor that they were going to do a sequel to the worst Godzilla movie in the world. And I was like, that's probably what this is. I was like,
Eli has always been a jaded guy.
I hated that movie so much. I've never seen a worse looking Godzilla
in rough.
My life. Oh my God. And like, I've never wanted to kick a baby Godzilla so hard as I did in that movie. And then they made a stupid cartoon about it.
Sure did.
So I'm going to bring us back for just one more moment to this hot topic. And then we're going to leave it though, because there's so much more to still talk about. But can I ask why in a very loose plot, we even needed the motivation to be basically his one night stand love? Like, why couldn't it be a family man? Like, to me, like you put a family situation or you put someone in there and I care way more. Instead, I was just annoyed that this fucker is so obsessed with getting to Beth, who fuck Beth. She literally just said, fuck you to your face by bringing another guy to your party. Like, make it like his sibling, make it like his sister, maybe two guy. I'm not no judging, but like, maybe that's not a connection. Make it maybe like a twin or like a really close, like, I don't know, like the love story in this is like the weakest fucking thing I've ever seen. And it just infuriated me because there was no drive for me for him to go save her. Like, right. I'm just like, are you, and to drag your friends along. I know they did it voluntarily, but like literally it's at the cost of everybody else, to save this girl. Like, your best friend, your brother, now you're mourning your dead brother's girlfriend or fiance or whatever she is. Like, I don't know. Like, it was just so annoying that just Beth, but we gotta get to Beth. And then he has the audacity to tell these army men who couldn't give two fucks that this girl, he goes, the love of my life, I have to go save her or some bullshit.
Like, I was like, whatever. All right.
I don't give a fuck, dude. I'm trying
there's a 300-foot creature running through the sea.
Your friend just blew up. She blew up.
I barely knew
right
her.
after that. It's just like, like, no mind that my friend just blew up behind the screen. Like, I still need to go save this girl.
Who was she friends with anyways? I don't think she's friends with Rob. She made that pretty
She was
apparent.
friends with Lily or someone.
Oh,
like,
see? So Rob
showed
doesn't
up
care
for
about
Lily.
Marlena.
No, but that was the love of TJ
Miller's life.
TJ Miller's life.
Hood.
No, to answer your question, Jamie, I think it's just because all the Godzilla movies had this like human story. Listen, I could name Godzilla movies and I could say, oh, like this was that fight, like, like this happened. But when it comes to, like, the human connections, I don't remember which one's which, and do I give a shit?
Yeah, I get it.
Like, I remember one of them's like a guy in the army who's trying to.
But
like,
this is his driving force for this whole movie. Like, the reason we're following him is for him to save the love of his life, who he spent one night with. But like, I get it that they're friends.
That doesn't really matter. Honestly, like with these movies, that doesn't really matter. That is just the vehicle to get you from scene to scene.
That is the vehicle
where you're about to see some shit go down.
The only thing to logically try to answer that question for you, Jamie, the only thing I think is the writer, director, and maybe some of the other producers on this all had either a similar experience or they had a hang up, and that was what they thought was. They were working through some stuff through this movie is the only thing I can say. I can tell you probably from my perspective back then, having like because I was probably very more focused on that part of, I guess, of an attraction rather than a family member. So for me, it was like an anchor. I'm not saying it's the rational or right way, but at my age at that time was probably a good motivator for me to be interested.
I guess watching it now, though, I'm like, like there's nobody I'm running through, like my family, like my sister or something. You know what I mean? But like there's 100. Nobody I'm turning around, especially when you're down. Like we'll get into that, but like he is as almost as low as you can go. He's not, but he's very, very lower Manhattan, and he thinks he's going to get to fucking Central Park. Like, is he out of his fucking mind? Yeah, like
he runs to the subway. It's only an hour.
Oh, so I have so you know what? We might as well get to my New York rant because my rant might not even be valid right now because I didn't know he said anything about an hour. So my
it says an hour run or an hour. It would take him an hour to get from one station to the other.
No, it's not one station to the other. First of all, there's like 18 stations between the two that he's trying to get from.
He said one.
So here was my rant. I really didn't hear him say that, so let's pretend he didn't, because here's my rant. They start at Spring Street, okay? I just want to say, they're taking the 6th line. That is a real line. That is a real stop. I don't know anybody who doesn't know Manhattan. New York is a fucking grid once you get above like Spring Street. Like First, and that Seinfeld joke is a real corner. There is a first and a first. And everything below that is where it gets confusing, but it's fine. They start at Spring Street, which is basically like a -6 if you want to use the numbers, okay? So they're starting at -6. I live at 23rd Street. It takes me, and I walk quickly, like 35 to 40 minutes to get from Spring to like my apartment. John did it with us when we left the Italian restaurant. We walked the whole way, or even like that's kind of that walk.
It's not a bad walk.
It's not a bad walk. We do it, but it's like 40 minutes just to do that. 23rd Street. They think they're getting to fucking 59th Street. Like that's not even double. That's like, it's more than double the walk. And they seem to do it in 20 minutes with a camera that stays alive. Like, it infuriated me.
Listen.
And then they get out 59th Street. They have to go to Columbus Circle. They have to go to her building. They run out of her building. And then all of a sudden they're near like not the bridge in Central Park. There's like a bridge outside when they're like, and it looks just like Grand Central. Grand Central is on like fucking 40 something. Like Grand Central or Penn Station. Yeah. Grand Central. Like, I know it's because I'm a New Yorker, but like when something's shot in New York, you get really excited. I'm sure everybody with their hometown. I'm just saying, like, and it's just like to see these things was just infuriating to me because like
these things are not close to each other. Yeah.
Yeah. And why even say it then? Why do we have to keep saying she's in Columbus Circle, like / Central Park, which is so far away from Spring Street where they start? And they show the subway line. It is the 6, and he is taking the 6 up there. Anyway, end rant. But I made a whole page of notes on my rants on New York geography, and then
you should probably write those up and put them on a website.
Keep in mind, they also go from Spring Street to the Brooklyn Bridge first. So now they got to go back from the Brooklyn Bridge, which is lower, all the way up.
I don't even know New York City, not even close to what Jamie knows, and that felt weird. I'm like, how are they getting to the Brooklyn Bridge that fat? It doesn't make any sense. And how come? I'm sorry, but like, not to dwell on like, tragedies or catastrophes in New York, but New York is a very like overpopulated city, and boy does it empty out real fucking quick in this movie. Like they go in the subway station and there's not a soul in the subway. Like to me, that's kind of a logical place to go. Maybe like if you're just trying to get below, like if this thing's walking around, you're gonna.
I'm sure as soon as they like went down there, like, oh shit, there's no lights here, and like the lights are flicking.
Some people would try.
We better find somewhere else. And he's like, listen, we're gonna take an hour walk here. We got this dude with a camera. We got these like glow rocks up on the ceiling.
Just like they get into everywhere they walk is like so empty for New York, and all you see is the one line of people that like that the army and everybody's like shoving out. But like that's not New York. There would be people fucking everywhere, like in the subways, hiding. I don't know. Again, this just dumb things.
Well, once again, I'm sure too. I would be willing to bet.
I've been waiting to rant about this.
This did not have like. This could have definitely had a bigger budget to flush some of that stuff out with, but did they squeak every fucking penny in this movie.
I'm like, guys, and then he gets to her building, right? After all this, and he presses the fucking elevator button. Like the elevator in this slanted building that's not even standing anymore is gonna work.
I think it's his habit.
He's like, damn it.
Ding, 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 ding.
Well, I like the fact when he's like when they're crossing from the leaning building into the other leaning building, and the kaiju's like barreling towards them, and he's like stopping, going, "Which way is it going?" And T.J. Miller's like, "No, let's just keep going. Just keep going." He's like, "Well, look at." He's like carrying that girl who minds you, right? I get it. You know, she had a pull through her chest.
Speared through.
Get it right. Yeah. He has to carry. She can't walk, which doesn't make sense because the pole didn't go through her legs; it went through her shoulder. But all right, he carries her out of the building. Right. They get to the street. The kaiju's coming, and then she hauls ass. No help. She is sprinting, and she's ahead of everybody else. And I'm like, you
adrenaline, man.
You had her fucking carry her. My adrenaline would have been up the top of that fucking building with a kaiju barreling towards me. I wouldn't be like, "Oh, carry me slowly across the top." I'd be like, I'd knocked him off the building and just hauled ass. But if she waited until he got the bottom, be like, "I have arrested now." You cuck.
Does the chick from Evil Dead, does she live, or is that her, or does she get smashed out of the sky? I can never remember that.
She's smacked out of the sky.
She does. That's what I thought. Okay, I saw it, but I was like, I remembered that, but then I was working while I was watching the second half of it, so like I couldn't remember if she did get. She
if
doesn't
you think
live.
about
Nobody
it,
lives.
is poetic because her boyfriend got smacked out of a bridge.
Yeah.
So
Everybody
she got smacked out of a chopper. He got smacked out of a bridge.
She's honestly, she's my hero of this movie because she does the whole almost first half of this in heels. Like she's running this whole thing in her full cute party dress and like heels through like all of it. Her boyfriend gets smushed. She's still like level headed and going and going. Like, I don't know.
Is she? She's like, yeah, we'll go save that girl who.
Well, yeah, she shouldn't have agreed to do that. Yeah, I guess like that's. Yeah.
I mean, like the military said they take us.
Apparently, Beth is a saint, guys, because everybody's willing to risk their life.
Of course,
for Beth.
yeah.
No, they were just working for Rob. She lost Jason. She's like, "Damn it, I'm gonna help him get him."
Nope. They'd be like, "Oh, we gotta help her." I'd be like, "Do we?"
Yeah,
I think I think we can all agree that the Rob Beth relationship is very one-sided.
Uh-huh. Because I'd be like, if that was to me, let me just play this out for a second, right? If I'm Rob and my phone rang and she'd be like, "Oh no, I fell pulse in my chest," I'd be like, "Oh, where's that other dude you're fucking? Huh?
Yeah.
The one you brought to my party?
Yeah,
have him come save you." Click. I'm like, "All right, guys, let's go to the military and leave."
But speaking of that, what does that say about his brother when he gives him the analysis between Beth and him?
You're not
he straight up calls his brother
not good enough for her. Not good enough for her, right?
Listen, you're talking about the same guy.
This fucking saint.
Yeah.
Who brought another dude to this party? Like, she's not so much a saint. Like, I mean, she's obviously like vindictive or petty.
I mean, the only way she could have been nicer is if she wrote him a card that said, "Hey, really sad we're never going to see each other again. You're going to another country. One last thing. I brought my new boyfriend. Go fuck yourself, Beth."
Do we know?
And then gets all offended. Like, why is he mad?
Yeah.
Why is he mad?
Why is he questioning
sending him off with, like, seriously, just wait until he leaves, then bring the dude around. Like, why would you bring him? I don't even care if you have a new boyfriend. I don't care if it's the love of your life. Why would you
don't
bring him to the party?
Like, obviously, like, oh, we haven't talked since that day. So don't come.
This is the biggest pain point of this movie is the opening. Is like this chick showing up at this fucking party.
And like the other thing too, probably
very real. Hence the emotional response. We've all been there. We've all seen this.
No. I've never had a party and had someone bring a random dude after like I slept with him. Like,
oh, really? Okay. Well,
from what I understand,
this does happen though.
From what I understand, she actually left New York, and because there was so much heat on her because of her relationship with Rob, she actually changed her name, and I think she changed it to Juno. I think that's the name.
I tell you what, I'm not a violent person. Okay. I don't like violence. I know
where this is going.
And like, especially
this is already a lie. Yeah.
Especially no violence toward women. I take it serious. But at that end, when he's like, "Let's record ourselves," and she's like, "I don't know what to say," I would have kneed her right in the temple as hard as I could. I'm like, "We're about to die in this bridge." I'm like trying to do something like so my mom at least has a tape because like both her sons are dying, and you're like, "I don't know what to," and then. She like when the like shit's falling and he's like, "Oh," he like throws his arm up and she quickly ducks underneath him. Like, I'll be like, "Whoa, what the shit?"
Take him.
Yeah.
No, he dies because of her. Like, I mean, flat
they
out.
all do.
Yeah, but he had an out except for the brother because they were already on the bridge.
Yeah.
The brother died.
Well, no, it is her fault because he got on that pole to look for them, and because everyone stopped moving because she called, and he was on the phone like,
yeah,
what
but
are you
he would
talking
have.
about?
He was just
I
at
don't
that
know.
point in the bridge. He would have
Everybody
gotten
been
fucked regardless.
squished because they were all been caught up
if
with
they
Jason.
kept walking,
Yeah.
they'd probably been on the other side. It only takes them an hour to walk from one subway stop to the other. Imagine how fast they can walk across that bridge.
Yeah, the Brooklyn Bridge. Yeah, it's really not that long. I've done
It's
that.
only
too.
like 3 steps, man, and you're across.
Is that the bridge you
Sherry
crossed
did
to
it
get your
with,
rainbow bagels?
Yeah. So, well, it used to be the Williamsburg Bridge, and then they moved. And last time it was the Brooklyn Bridge. Now the Rainbow Bagel place is closed. But yes, Sari and I and Matt walked across the Brooklyn Bridge after we got our Rainbow Bagels.
Perfect.
And
Was there a
all the way
kaiju?
back through and all the way back through Lower Manhattan, just like these people do. And guess how long it took?
20 minutes.
All day.
My God, guys, I can't. And so, Dave, I want to bring up one thing that I thought maybe you would notice, and you might have, but I'm just going to bring it up now too. I get that people had more important things to do when this went down in New York. This monster is ripping through fucking New York. But that poor horse still on a carriage.
Thank you.
Pulling the carriage through. First of all, those things, listen, even as those things should be fucking banned to begin with. Okay.
Yep.
They're still around in New York, even though there have been many things in place to get rid of them and whatever. Like you go to Central Park, you still fucking see those poor horses pulling those things in the dead of the fucking heat. Like it drives me insane. But nobody could stop and let this horse off his fucking carriage.
Just pull the harness loose and let him go.
Yeah.
Hey,
he's like,
is that horse named Beth? Then he can't help it. Can't help it. Okay. Unless his name is Beth. It was if at that point, if I'm teaching him, I'd be like, oh, did I not tell you my middle name's Beth? We should go, guy.
Yeah. What kind of piece of crap do you have to be the business owner or the carriage driver and just yeet the horse that you've spent probably half your life
dead?
Ride it out of there. You can get out of there so
seriously.
quick.
You can get there a lot faster than walking through the fucking subway tunnel.
Yes, I did notice that. It was annoying.
It's just he just comes walking across, and I'm like, come on, guys, really?
But they had Beth business to do. They didn't have time.
Yeah, they did.
That's true.
Like I would have stopped and run and let him out. Like, but I also would have said fuck Beth because she's a bitch and she doesn't deserve our help.
Yeah, once she shows up at the party, she's already dead to me.
She was already dead. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because this movie is unique in the fact that it spawned this whole universe, the whole Cloverfield universe. There's 3 movies now. There's a manga series. There's been a TV anime series, I think, but I know there's a manga series. And the cool thing about it is the movies themselves, at least, and the couple of mangas that I read, the mangas followed the original Cloverfield story much closer, but 10 Cloverfield Lane, or whatever the number is, Cloverfield Lane, and then the Cloverfield Paradox are only loosely using the rules of this universe. So what are your thoughts on the overall universe? I guess is my overall arching question. Does it work, or do we see a Cloverfield movie and we want to see a kaiju? Because this is the only one that really has a kaiju in it.
Well, no, because the third one. It shows up in the third one because that's
the second one. Wait,
no, it's the third one. Second one's 10 Cloverfield Lane. Third one, Paradox.
At the end of 10 Cloverfield Lane?
It's the monster from the first one, because that's when you find out that it's not an alien. There's a nexus point between multiple dimensions.
Yeah, it's a Pacific Rim kind of situation.
Yeah, there's this like nexus point, and like what's kind of crazy is like that's a really cool concept. It's a kind of a wild concept to try to do with movies and not like a TV series, I think, where you have like that spread out.
Because I know that was a big complaint that people had with 10 Cloverfield Lane specifically, because that is a ballsy move.
But John Goodman's so good in it.
But the movie's great.
Once again, though, the end of 10 Cloverfield Lane, the monster shows up.
Yeah,
it's in all 3 of them.
Well, yeah, but it shows up as a referential thing. It's not part of the story.
Well, that's why I think it kind of is, because they're building to this, like, oh, you find out this is a nexus point between all these dimensions, and like they're converging, which is kind of crazy. Like that's the end of the paradox. And like, I'm really excited because they announced there's another Cloverfield coming out, and they said it's going to be closely more direct sequel to the first one. But I'm kind of hoping like, well, are we going to keep because like I think like it probably would have worked better in a TV show, but that's kind of ballsy that you're doing these different movies that all take place on the same night, and you're like, oh, it's this nexus point where these realities are converging. Like it's a really cool concept, but like it's tough, but like I'm excited for the next one. I've liked all of them. Like
I
John
didn't
Goodman
even
is
see the
so
third one.
good in 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's not bad. It's really not that bad. Like it's kind of dry, but then like once you get to the point where they're like the payoff, you're like, oh, holy shit.
Which one? Which one?
Paradox, the
Netflix
third
one.
one.
Oh, I heard the third one was terrible.
That's what I heard too. So I always stayed
So
away.
I never saw it. I saw
It was just straight to
Cloverfield.
streaming. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw, but it didn't. It premiered the commercial during the Super Bowl. It was like a big deal because
yeah.
like so like I obviously at the time like loved the first one. Like I do have a fondness for the first one. 10 Cloverfield Lane did not hit me the way it hit everybody else. I thought it was fairly dull. I thought
it's a slow burn.
I never got into the whole universe. Like Eli seems really versed in it. My sister is very versed in it. As someone who's not, like, they just seem so disconnected and just shoved together. Like I'm just not into it. Like, and then I just heard terrible things about the third one that I never even saw the third one. So as a universe, I could care less. A direct sequel to the first one, maybe I'm more interested in. I don't think there's ever a chance in this universe that they wouldn't tie everything together because that's just what they're doing. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm
ahead
sure
of its time then.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of it would be lost on me in a fourth one because again, I'm not well versed in this whole backstory. But like,
why is I'm trying to think of like a live action TV or live action movie series doing this kind of mass universal converge. Like, definitely have his time. Like you see something
I can
like
think of would be Fringe, and that's a TV show.
Yeah, like TV shows you see. It's like Doctor Who's done it in the past. Stuff like for like a TV or for a movie series.
Movie's tough.
Like,
this is a lot to
them
connect.
Going wide, like and like as massively they have. Like I mean, I'll give them credit. Like I said, it's tough and like they've done perfectly by no means, but like it's impressive what they like that they've been able to do what they've done.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's not as closely like from movie to movie as something like Alien or Predator.
Right.
And I kind of like that. I like that it's telling very fragmented stories about an event that's happening. And it's kind of informing more of the event through these stories and not worried so much about, I got to show you a kaiju every time, or I've got to do X, or I've got to do Y. So I've enjoyed it, but I do think that at some point they're going to have to pay off some of the promises they've made that they haven't paid off yet. So
have you watched
I was just
Lost,
curious.
Dave?
I haven't. I hated it.
Yeah, I was going to say, J.J. Abrams, he never has to pay off anything. He made that abundantly clear with Lost.
I have no answers. Have a good day.
Yeah, correct. Did you have fun though?
Yeah. Well, if I remember, like in interviews, he said
couple seasons.
Like there were some answers, and like there's stuff he was going to do, and the studio is basically like, "Go fuck yourself." Yeah, like, wouldn't let him do it.
Yeah.
So he's like, I didn't know what to do. Like they kept giving me notes, and it's like, all right. Purgatory.
Guess I'll go make a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
So then, because I don't remember, and I know I used to know the story, and I'm gonna bring it up for reference for a minute. So I want then Eli to tell me like what was this all about? And can you see in my like this is exactly the same
camera?
So this was from my sister because when we were on this is exactly where that thing falls in the water at the end of the movie. This is the exact shot. They're on the thing in Coney Island, the big wheel thing. That's me pointing to the spot, my sister in this picture. So like, what is that happening? So I forget. I read about it, but I forget. So now
I have a theory about it though. I think it's more than what they've said.
Two of them too. It's more what?
I think it's more than what they've said. And I think they were like, because like he had a plan for this, like past the first movie. But I think so. The
official notice is that from JJ is that what we saw that we thought was the alien coming from space is actually a Japanese satellite, which is the same satellite that John Goodman references in.
That's right. Okay.
And like you see it fall in the paradox.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm. But what I think too, like part of the reason they're showing, because like that's the Nexus event, right? That's the start of the Nexus event. That where all these realities.
That's when they use the dimensional engine on the spaceship.
Yep. So that's the start of the Nexus event where all these realities are converging. That all roads lead to the kaiju, right? But and like I think he was showing us that in the first movie with like these pictures and scenes, because if you notice, a lot of throughout the movie where they're going it randomly cuts to tape, and on that day they were already kind of following that path to where they went in the movie. And then like one of the like they get to Coney Island, that's kind of the end, and then you see the Nexus event. So like I think like they kind of played their hand from being like, this is what here's the story, and then like they're finally like the third one caught up to it. Like that's why like it's really smart, and like I said, I gotta give him credit.
I sent this picture to her, and I think I wrote, "It was a good day."
Yeah, that is a good day. Yeah,
you know, I'm just so happy right now. Matt finally made it to the show.
There he is. He'll be happy he was on the show, I'm sure.
Yeah. we could call him Kaiju, codename Kaiju if he wants.
So I have one more question and then a couple of fun little pieces of trivia. But does anybody else have anything else we didn't cover?
Yeah, I will say the design of the monster, I really liked it. I like that they didn't go like reptile.
Oh,
how they kind of went amphibious, but like
very
different.
Mist. Very
like,
mist-like.
I really like the design of the monster. And
doesn't he seem to change size a lot though? No, is it just me? Like I think
really
I'm more just thinking the end when TJ Miller sees him. He feels a lot smaller than he does.
I really think that was like the CG and like
there's some scaling issues, especially with how in the world did it jump up all the way to that
to get the helicopter?
And like that doesn't make any sense.
It didn't jump. If you look, it wasn't that far off the ground, and then he hit it with his arm.
Yeah, but again, his height. It's a little. He's a
well, no, right.
It's a little hand wavy for sure.
Oh, for sure.
He's
and like his arm, like
6-7 stories, but they're up probably like 50-60, and he somehow
what that helicopter? No, that helicopter's like 4 stories off the ground, my guy.
No. They were well
it is above the buildings.
Maybe like 15 stories.
Have you been to New York?
It's not a real place. But if you look too, like his arms, like there's scenes where like this monster's not the mini arms, but the regular arms are like 50 stories by themselves.
So when he attacks the Brooklyn Bridge, his arm looks like it's fucking like a whole building's worth. Like it's like the Empire State Building. But then, like I said, like, and I guess maybe my problem is just like towards the end. Then when you see him making his way, he looks small. Then when he's in Central Park and TJ Miller just does the upshot of him, he looks like he's fucking just like the size of like a house. Like he doesn't even look like he's like
his official height is
thank you
25 stories. So 250 to 300 feet.
And like the one thing I will say, because they got more money, that height issue seemed to be fixed at the end of 2 and in Paradox.
Yeah, it's standardized.
Pretty
at that
standardized by that point. Yeah.
So my last question to you, I'll go ahead, Eli.
No, go ahead.
So my last question, because this did trigger off a lot of stuff that came out in the aughts of horror. So my question to you is, who is the best creature feature director of the aughts? Was it Matt Reeves? Is it Danny Boyle, Neil Marshall, Zack Snyder, James Gunn, Frank Darabont? I think those are the 6 that were like at the top of the game.
Remind me what they all made though, besides Slither.
James Gunn, I don't know.
Slither.
Yeah, James Gunn did Slither.
Oh, okay. See, I've never seen Slither, so I can't.
You got to see it. It's good.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. Zack Snyder did the new Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah. Oh, see, that was
good. Yeah,
that's like one of the very few. Zack
I wouldn't count that as a creature feature.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I'm gonna say with Eli, I'm gonna take that out of
then throw it out.
Though.
Neil Marshall did The Descent, which we all loved. So he did the creatures for that one. Frank Darabont did The
Mist.
Yeah, The Mist.
Yeah.
What was
we know how I felt about The Mist, so I'm gonna take that one out of there.
And then Danny Boyle.
Danny Boyle did 28 Days Later.
Yeah.
Zombies.
Zombies again. Yeah, I'm going to take that out.
Okay.
Too.
So you're down to Neil Marshall, Matt Reeves, Zack Snyder, James Gunn.
But most of those are pretty good.
They're all really good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a bad one on there. But
I'll give it to Matt Reeves because it's the only one I've seen. So
you've seen The Descent.
The
Descent. I don't think of it as like a creature necessarily, but it is.
Are we going big creature? Yeah, but neither is Slither. Yeah. It's just a bunch of little. But we did put it in creature feature last time because it's not. It's not.
They're not kaiju movies. They're creature.
No. Yeah, they're just creature. Yeah, they're just creature.
For me, it's Cloverfield, just because it's my preferred creature.
The big one. Okay.
Man, that's
the little explodey biter guys.
That is really tough.
Yeah,
I can't.
I'm more thinking of like those movies though, and I can't. And they're all just very different. Like I can't put Slither with Cloverfield. Although I much prefer Slither over Cloverfield. If we're gonna just say, like, if they're
gonna have
both
to watch
on
it.
and you're gonna ask me what to watch, it's always gonna be Slither over a lot of
So,
other things. I just really enjoy that movie. But
Yeah, so do I. But if I remember oh man.
Is Slither more like a piranha?
No.
yeah, but not. I mean,
Like goofy but fun?
I'll tell you what it's like. It's like cocaine bear,
like
and it's
cocaine
delightful.
bear.
No,
it's like if
no.
Cocaine
We're not
Bear
going-
was
you-
good.
I mean, we can go down this road if you want.
John,
to.
it's Slither as if Cocaine Bear
Delightful.
was good. Like
No.
that's what Slither is.
So I
You'll
probably
like it. I like Slither a lot. Like it's one of my favorite.
Oh, we're
James
using
Gunn
that
movies.
though as because Eli. Don't worry, Eli liked it.
Hey.
So you'll
I
like
was
it.
going to say,
Listen.
if everybody's been paying attention from the beginning, this is where we have our own Cloverfield paradox right here. the tastes have crossed over, and there's a new nexus point.
Some have taste, some don't.
I tell you what, Dave. I'm sitting here thinking, and like I'm racking my brain. That's
He's
a
still
really
trying
tough
to-
question.
Mhm.
I don't know if I can do it because, like, I
know I'm catching you on the
really
fly
like
here. So.
no, because like I really like the Descent. Like those creatures.
Descent is a fucking
so
but the Descent's a fantastic
good.
movie though, all around.
Yeah, and the
Like, that's
creatures make
hard.
that movie.
You know what? If I
The
have to,
Descent might be the best movie of all those.
That is the
Like,
best
that's
movie out of
just-
the bunch.
if part of the grading would be the looks itself, by far the Descent creatures look really good through the whole movie. Whereas like Cloverfield has some issues they look, obviously like James Gunn didn't have a big budget when he did Slither, so like, there's some rough.
But they're
So, I
also
mean,
a little silly though. Slither is
Well,
allowed to be silly because the
right.
movie's
But
silly.
like I'm saying like all the way through the set design was almost perfect throughout the whole film. It's like I feel like I hear the scent. But like with the narrowest of margin.
Yeah.
Because they're all three different movies.
Yeah, it's all
like,
tight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's weird though. You didn't put the other Godzilla movie in there.
I did not.
Weird.
Well, officially that was 1999. It didn't quite make the odds,
Yeah,
but
it
I
was,
wouldn't have put it on this
right.
list either.
No,
I thought
I think it was the late
2000.
I thought it was the late 90s, but I didn't know it was 99.
Oh, it's terrible.
Like,
But Taco Bell had great promotion.
You know, it came out in
it
99.
did have a lot of
Blair Witch Project.
It did.
Another trash
God
movie.
damn it.
It's not a trash.
It's such trash. I'm pretty sure the cheesy gordita crunch came with a
I
Godzilla
was-
movie, so we
Yeah.
we can't begrudge it that much.
I was
It did
just
bring us that.
I was just reading the for you Blair Witch fans out there, John Jamie.
Oh.
Apparently some information will be coming out about the television show soon.
Ooh.
Yeah, couldn't care less.
You say that
Yeah.
now.
No chance.
I think back to the question though. I think I'm with John. I love all of those movies, and as a movie standalone, The Descent is the best of that bunch. As far as
Agreed.
creature features, I think this is my favorite as a creature feature.
Yeah.
Because even if I watch The Descent, which I do fairly often, I have to be in a certain mindset. I can throw Cloverfield on at any time and have a good time.
Right.
I feel that way about Slither, I think. So I'll say like
It's true.
but I think we all agree. I think Descent is the best movie of all those movies.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
hands
agreed.
down.
As long as that's the right
and-
ending.
Like I said, if you're gonna base like look of the creature itself, The Descent is the one where there's not a bad shot of that creature in the whole first movie. Whereas there's some rough scenes with the Cloverfield monster, and like, yeah,
Mhm.
Slither's a goofy movie, but like it's also like there's some like not great scenes of like the little Slytherin fellers.
Or
Yeah,
of what's
Slither.
his fucking face when
Or
he's
Michael Rooker.
Michael Rooker when he's
yeah,
like
but like in the Descent,
Michael
like
Rooker's
that.
in that movie. I got
yeah, he's like a lead of that movie.
Yeah.
I gotta watch
Yeah.
this.
And Elizabeth Banks.
Yep.
Don't watch
Okay.
it till we watch it for the show, because we certainly are going to.
Oh,
So-
we are? Thank God.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Thank God.
The ironic
worried?
thing,
Oh, thank God. Yeah, I don't know why. I like
the ironic thing is that of that list of directors, we've all agreed that Descent is the best movie, but Neil Marshall is the worst director.
Mhm.
Like inconsistency of the other things he made,
Mhm.
he's had the worst set of follow-up movies, which is
The
just
Descent
ironic.
was a lightning strike.
Didn't
It
he
was.
do Dog Soldiers? Isn't that one of his?
Yeah, it was before Descent, and then he went
Which
on
I've
to
never
do-
seen, but I hear it's great.
It is good. It is
That's
good.
not
But
bad.
the stuff that he did after this, he really struggled. So
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he did a Game of Thrones episode or two. if
He
I
did.
remember Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
he certainly did.
He did the one, I think he did the Battle of Homestead, didn't he? That's when Richard Brake played the Night King. Pretty sure.
I'm not sure what episodes, but
Because Richard
That's a
Brake
good one.
played the Night King in like 2 episodes that season.
I do. Those are good episodes.
So I do have a couple of pieces of fun trivia. We've covered a lot of it, but I thought these were ones that you all would appreciate. The first one is the movie without credits, and this is this is a total J.J. Abrams thing to do. The movie without credits comes to exactly 80 minutes, which is the full length of a mini DV tape.
That's funny. I did notice it was so short. I forgot that it was so short.
It.
Which is perfect for it. And then, and Jamie may have picked up on this. I didn't know this till I was looking up some of the trivia, but the Statue of Liberty head that is in the movie is 50% bigger than the actual head of the Statue of Liberty, because nobody believed when they actually screened the movie. They said the head was way too small. It was unrealistic because it was way too small, because it was actually the size.
That's
so they had
funny.
to make it bigger.
Do you want to know? I've never been to the Statue of Liberty. I lived in New York my whole life. So when I was little, our 5th grade trip was always every year. The 5th graders went to the Statue of Liberty. My year, because I'm from Staten Island, for those that don't know, I live in Manhattan now. But my year that we were supposed to go, it was too like foggy to take the ferry over to like Ellis Island, that we went shopping at the South Street Seaport instead.
Cool.
So I've never been. I've never gone back. Like I've never gone over there.
You know what's crazy? You're like, hey, when I was in 5th grade, our field trip was a Statue of Liberty. Where I went to high school in 5th grade, our field trip was to a coal mine, and we just rode the elevator down and back up.
Yeah, you were also making popsicle stick abacus.
Yeah, you lived in a different world than I did.
That was 1st grade. You son of a bitch.
But you were still using them in 5th grade, I guarantee.
You were making corn
glue.
cob bird feeders and like throwing them out your school bus window. I was trying to get to the Statue of Liberty, but we didn't. So I've never been. So if anybody wants to come and go.
I was going to say, next trip I come visit you guys, we're going.
Yeah.
John's going to take Jamie to the Statue of Liberty.
That would be fitting.
That'd be hilarious.
I've been to most other landmarks, just not.
You know what I do, John, the whole time, just like loudly state how she's a tourist from New Jersey.
I would never do that to Jamie.
The funny thing is, our first trip up that Michelle and I took to New York, we did go over on the island and walk around the statue, and it took us 10 minutes to go, that is much smaller than we thought it was.
It looks very big. You know,
it's majestic, and it's an important landmark. I'm not diminishing its importance to our country. I'm just saying, you get there and you're like, oh,
yeah, it's not. Yeah,
you're kind of like Tom Cruise, aren't you? There.
Well, if you figure that the French brought it over on a boat,
that's true.
You know what I mean?
I was just gonna say, if you think that's small, you should see the first one. The first one's over in Paris, and I've seen that thing is very tiny.
I've seen that one. And the one here, like you see it from the Staten Island ferry, and I've been taking the Staten Island ferry back and forth my whole life, so we see it every single time. I've just never actually gone that
to it.
I mean, this is way off topic, but like just thinking about like countries don't give each other gifts like that anymore.
We don't like each other like that anymore.
Like here's a whole landmark. We're gonna make it for you, and you're gonna put it somewhere. Like that doesn't happen anymore.
And it's the most French thing ever, because it wasn't even that they were celebrating America. That was just a big middle finger to Great Britain. That's all that was. Which is so French, and I love it. Being a French family.
We need more passive-aggressive gifts to other countries.
Any other thoughts on Cloverfield?
I do. I have one.
Okay.
Why does everyone have to say each other's name over and over and over again all the time?
I only heard
Rob, Beth, Marlena. Why, like, dude? And Lily gets a short shrift. I think I heard her name maybe like once.
That's the downside of having TJ Miller's character as our narrator, because to Eli's point earlier, he's a little on the simple side.
Mm-hmm. But that's the charm. It's weird though too, because like if you look at like a lot of other like found footage film, like besides Blair Witch, after Blair Witch, it seemed like a lot of them, the person behind the camera was almost like a first person video game. Where like they never have any lines for the longest time, and they don't say anything, and they don't really have a personality. And like he had like all this personality, but like with that, you had to hear his ramblings and him just saying names over and over again.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it's such a bad.
And you know what?
It's a fair point, John. Yeah,
worth it.
Fair point. So on that, we are wrapped on Cloverfield. However, as Dave always does, I do have Dave's Critter Corner, and we're actually going to talk about the monster. And I was concerned that we were going to cover a lot of this in our conversation. We haven't, though. Got some fun facts that we haven't yet covered about Clover, who is the Cloverfield monster.
It has a name?
Yeah, Clover.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Now, that isn't an official name. That's just what it's been.
Oh, it's just what everybody calls it.
dubbed.
I didn't really even know that. I thought it was just the Cloverfield monster.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the name Cloverfield was it was sort of the hidden name for the script, and they just held on to it because Cloverfield was the street that that bad robot was first on, something like that. Anyway, but yeah, the monster is now known as Clover, and Clover is an infant that stands 250 feet to 300 feet tall. That's why it's quadrupedal in the movie. We are to understand from the creature designer that this monster, when it's an adult, is fully bipedal, but it walks around on its hands and legs like a baby would, crawling around on the floor.
I'm pretty sure they bring that up in the third one too.
Oh, do they?
Because I think when they're looking like at the different, if I remember correctly, when they're looking through the different dimensions, there's a flash of you just see the legs of one like walking by something. They're like, what is that?
That's a mama. That's what that is. So I thought that was interesting. Also, the little creatures that I had always assumed were like a weaponized bioweapon kind of thing. Apparently the parasites are just Clover shedding these parasites that it has while it's pupating or birthing. Like it's just part of the birthing process is these parasitic things that are on its body, because it is a sea-based creature apparently that was awoken during it's an amphibious organism obviously because it can go around in water, but it was in the deep sea, and it was awoken during some deep sea oil drilling by a Japanese company that was harvesting a special, what was called deep sea nectar for an energy drink called slush.
Oh, that's right. The energy drink. Yeah, I forgot all about that energy drink that showed up everywhere. Yeah.
Clover's diet is fully carnivorous. It's a meat eater. It usually lives on large sea creatures, which is why at the beginning of this you see the footage of whales with bites taken out of them and all that kind of stuff, because that's what it subsists on. But it also enjoys an occasional Central Park horse, womp womp, or human. So that can happen too. It eats, and I thought this was interesting too, because I had always thought when I see it, when HUD does the scan up it right before he gets eaten, and you see the little legs at its waist, those aren't not legs, but arms, the little arms that are tucked in. Apparently those are not arms. Those are external esophagi that it just eats with. So those are actually mouths that it reaches down and eats with, because it's a bottom feeder sea creature. So it just uses those to eat things off the ground. So those are esophagi. They are not arms.
Weird.
Now you know.
The more you know.
That's all I've got on Clover, but Clover is a cool creature design.
You know what's crazy? Yeah. I'm sitting here since you reminded me that wasn't fully grown, and like we know the dimensions are converging. What if the next one, old mama comes in?
Oh yeah, and it would be like 800, 1,000 feet tall. Yeah,
because like I just remember there's that thing where like they look through, like there's that one, and you just see these giant fucking legs go in. It's like real close. They're like, what is that?
What city does it go to?
They don't. Well, I don't know. Like, you're like, oh, Tennessee.
I was going to say Dallas, Fort Worth, where everything's like 5 stories tall.
Exactly.
And it's like there's not a lot of people here to eat.
Yeah, you'd have to scale up. You'd have to go something like the Rocky Mountains or something like that. Anyway,
that'd be cool. It'd be different.
Or it has to be in Dubai, where all the buildings are like,
oh, that would be dope.
You know,
that would be a cool ocean contrast with the sea creatures in the desert. All right, call us, JJ. We've got some ideas.
Yeah. Oh, TM those. TMing those. So you can't just blatantly take them. We're TMing ideas we came based off your TM. Call that a double TM. Suck it.
Yeah. So, Eli, what are we following up this review on our Campfire Tales next week?
Well, the Cloverfield monster is based off the Japanese kaijus. This may surprise all of you. Kaijus aren't real. But I thought, I know, shocking.
Get the hell out.
There is no real Japanese kaijus, and I figured no one would want to listen to me talk about Godzilla for 4 hours. So what we're going to do is I went digging, right? And I found some of the more terrifying and interesting cryptids from real cryptids that stem from Japan. So I thought we'd talk about some Japanese
real.
cryptids.
Oh, they have a
Real
rich
cryptids.
history with
Mhm.
spiritual cryptids.
And demons. A lot of them are demons.
Yeah, it's very
They don't-
spiritual over there.
Yeah. They don't fuck around. They're like, oh, is this bad? It's a demon. Not here we're like, oh, it's a ghost and it like beats you to death or whatever. They're like, that's a fucking demon.
They have
They're
a
Zach
lot.
Bagans, basically.
Huh?
They're Zach Bagans. Everything's a demon.
No, they're not as lame as Zach Baggins.
Oh, it's
Boom,
Baggins.
roasted.
Yeah, it's Baggins.
Listen,
Listen, I know we just
Baggins.
talked about Cloverfield, but like I say, like I enjoy the paranormal things like that. Ghost Adventures may be the worst show ever made on television, right? But Zach Baggins got me because when he bought that demon house in
He
Indiana,
got you?
I
where
don't know who this guy is.
Zach
You've never
Baggins,
seen Ghost Adventures?
he's the ghost
I
hunting
don't
bro
watch this shit.
that
The-
like
yeah,
you would go
ghost
to the
hunting
room
bro.
and go, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, ghost. You don't show yourself. Like that
I don't
guy.
believe in ghosts, so I don't
Oh
watch
well, fair
these
enough.
things.
But so he so he went and bought the demon house in Indiana, which is actually the
Yes.
first government recognized haunting. CPS actually recognized like, oh, there is something paranormal here, based on a decision when they were called. He bought this house, he's gonna investigate it, right? And I was like, and he did a documentary, and everybody was like, oh, it's actually scary. It's not like his show. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Like, I'm familiar with this case. This could be interesting. I rented it because at the time wasn't streaming. I rented it. It was
He
like
got you,
$6.
You got
And motherfucker, was that not the worst movie? And like, what happens at the ending? I've never wanted to punt my phone across a street in my life.
To your phone.
Because the other thing too, I was waiting for them to check my internet, so it's like I couldn't use my computer to watch it because I just moved in this apartment, so I watched it on my phone. So I wanted to check my phone,
And you couldn't wait. You're like, I gotta watch.
Well, I mean, what
this.
else was I going to do?
Are we still recording? Like what?
Yeah, we sure are.
Yeah, that's called the demon.
All
House.
I
Don't-
asked was
don't
what
watch it.
campfire tale we're doing.
Oh yeah, it's about Japanese demons. It does involve Zach Baggins.
Perfect.
Nice. I
That
love
guy,
it.
that guy can go to hell.
Yeah, Zach Baggins is sort of the Tom DeLonge of the ghost side of the
Tom
paranormals.
DeLonge is actually real. Zach Baggins is a douche.
You're real.
So if you enjoyed the episode, we do ask that you subscribe, rate the show, give us 5 stars, give Jamie her comments. She just wants to hear from you.
I'm getting really sad.
Yes,
You might want to
made
start
Jamie
the show
very
with
sad.
that, Dave. Be
Exactly.
like, up front, like, hey, if you're just popping in here,
John, are you suggesting that people
Subscribe.
don't finish these episodes?
just saying. Like, I mean, for the very few that stuck with us for the long haul,
They're the ones we want to hear from. though.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear from the people that are just here for the front. I need to talk to the caboose people. They're our people.
we need to hear it from the Karens of the internet, the
The
ones that
asses.
are the ones that are offended up front and seem
The
to care a
people
lot.
that are waiting for me to open the applications for the Mole Kingdom. Those are the people we want to talk to.
If you want to learn more about us, you can go to our website. It's thewickedwild.com. Good news. We officially have the travel journals of Eli and Jeff published on there now.
What?
So
Shut
the
up.
articles we've been waiting for with bated breath for 6 months are
COVID
there.
couldn't stop me.
available to
COVID
the
couldn't
public
stop
on-
me. You know?
So,
in my COVID sick state, I got COVID, unfortunately.
Man.
so
I
what are the
managed
travel journals
to
that
read
you
it.
shared with us?
So far we have the Mothman
Ooh.
festival. We also have the Kecksburg UFO Festival, and there'll be a couple more up there, and because we're going on a couple more trips here coming up.
So look forward to that in
2 years.
2025.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
But we have a trip coming up in May and June. So yeah, those will be on the website by at least the end of next year.
Very cool.
Mhm.
If you want to follow us on social media, your options are Twitter at Wicked Wild We Are, Slasher, which is the horror community social media that we've talked about the last few, at Wicked Wild We Are is there as well. And as I referenced earlier, we are also publishing all of our episodes on YouTube. Just search the Wicked Wild Podcast and you'll find us. If you have questions, thoughts, feedback that you'd love to give to me, comes directly to me and I can share it with the crew. You can use our email. Podcast, podcast, if you don't know how to friggin' spell podcast, at thewickedwild.com. And as we always say here at the Wicked Wild, our recommendation to you is that you get out there and get lost, because it may be the only place you can find yourself.
Or a kaiju.